Basketball in the Barrio is now under the umbrella of a group called Athletes United for Peace. Athletes United for Peace goes all around the world doing track meets and midnight basketball and those kinds of things. The president of Athletes United for Peace...
Basketball in the Barrio was a natural fit for Athletes United for Peace because our executive director, Doug Harris, has been doing a number of basketball camps, clinics, and tournaments in the Bay Area over the last 15 years. And we saw that basketball in the Barrio was a wonderful example of what the mission of Athletes United for Peace was about. And so we talked to Russ, and we talked to Steve Yellen, who is Russ's friend and organizer of Basketball in the Barrio, and we asked them if they would be interested in becoming the El Paso chapter of Athletes United for Peace. They agreed. It was our two missions, if you will, were almost identical, and so now Basketball in the Barrio is, in some sense, a production of Athletes United for Peace, and it's just another part, another chapter in the country that is keeping that vision of what sports can be alive.
I saw Dave Megacy, who's the West Coast director of the NFL Players Association, on ESPN. And when I saw that, I said to myself, I have to interview this guy. Who is this guy? Because he was articulate and he was sharp and he didn't pull any punches. And I was like, this is exactly the kind of person I should be talking to.
In talking about Dave Zirin, he is, in my mind, an extension of a tradition, and he's a young man. And as Bob Lipsyte, who is one of the foremost sports journalists in the United States, has called Dave, our best young sports journalist in the country.
Honestly, I looked him up on the web and found his email through AUP, through Athletes United for Peace. And I sent him an email and I said, I'd like to interview you and talk about your experiences around the anti-war movement in the 60s and why you quit the NFL, just all of that stuff. And what surprised me was Dave's response was I expected him to say something like what a lot of people who are big, what they do is they say, email me the questions and I'll answer them, which usually means their assistant answers them.
Zirin is definitely in league with the tradition of what I call progressive people in sport, who want to see sport in the spirit of Athletes United for Peace, that sport is a way to bring people together, it's a way to bring communities together legitimately.
What David did was he said, come on down to the NFLPA office and let's talk face to face. And I just had tremendous respect for that, that he was like, oh, this guy cares about the past and politics and history, and he's a young guy, therefore by default he's somebody I want to talk to. So I did this interview with Dave and it got around a lot. It was very well received. It's in my book, What's My Name, Fool? I mean, I couldn't imagine a book without that interview with Dave Megacy because it really was so influential on the whole thinking around doing the book. And Dave, literally, probably the second time we were talking, said to me, hey, have you ever heard of Basketball in the Barrio? And I said, what are you talking about? Basketball in the Barrio, what does that mean? And he said to me, it's something we do every year in El Paso. And to me, El Paso, you might as well be talking about Tierra del Fuego. I've never been south of Fredericksburg, Virginia. So it was just sort of a very foreign concept. And just, and then Russ started emailing me, Russ Bradford. And we just started talking a lot over email and a couple of times on the phone. And the more I talked to him, the more this seemed like a place that I should be for a lot of reasons. I mean, one, I think working with children is incredibly important. I taught first grade and third grade in Washington, D.C. for 4 years. And two, I really wanted to see for myself if the kids would respond to a kind of progressive sports atmosphere.
Newly published book will be on the New York Times bestseller list for sure. David Zirin, welcome David Zirin. What's my name for you? David, please stand up. Oh, here. How you doing? David's published on the internet daily with an article called The Edge of Sports. Please read his books. Thank you, David Zirin.
The camp is a pilgrimage for a number of us. It happens every year in June. and there are people from all over the country.
The first thing that I want to say is Russ is the only guy that was there for me and gave me the opportunity to, play professional basketball, and I really appreciated that. He turned my life around, and he
coached in Ireland last couple of years, and did well over there as a coach.
I have to tell you that Russ himself permeates this world to a ridiculous degree. Anywhere you go.
It's easy to forget all the things that Russ is involved with and does, and of course he's an author of his book, Patty on the Hardwood, based on his 2 years of coaching professional basketball in Ireland, where he went to study Irish fiddling. Russ is an incredibly accomplished bluegrass fiddler and now an Irish fiddler. He's also gone to the Memphis Grizzlies a training camp to give instruction to the professional NBA players on how to dribble a basketball or to better dribble a basketball.
He's teaching English right now at New Mexico State, so what can he do?
I play basketball for the UTEP women's team. This camp is definitely different than any other camp I've been involved in over my years of playing basketball. A lot of the kids that are at the camp today, and you notice the ones that have on the red shirts. Now you got to remember, they were the guys in the yellow shirts a few years ago. Okay, they were small. I remember a lot of them being really small, and I worked with them, and Russ worked with them over the years over their ball handling skills, and they graduated. And Russ just promoted them, like to red shirt. And honestly, they're doing like a better job than we are, because they know exactly what they're doing. But that came over years of consistency of coming to the camp. So the red shirts are pretty much, they're the trainers. They're the ones that's running the camp. They know exactly what they're doing. They get to the stations. They don't ask any questions. One little guy, one Sean, he just takes over. I'm supposed to be the coach, right? And Sean is like, all right, everybody get in a circle, get a ball, we're going to start with figure eight. And he just running the camp. And that's just from years of being with Russ.
All right, guys. It's going to go around our waist, okay? Hand to hand as you go around your body. Hand to hand. Ready? 1, 2. Round your waist.
I went to basketball camp every summer from the ages of 13 to 16. Let me tell you what it was. 2.5 hours of basketball, lunch. 2.5 hours of basketball, film. 2.5 hours of basketball, sleep.
That to my parents was like good training. You need that, Do layups all day or shoot 100 3-pointers until we make 50 of them. Those are the camps that I went to when I was coming up. When I went to camp, oh no, it was no storytelling. They weren't telling us no stories. And talking about art. No, juice, cookies, come on.